So today I want to try playing with this Utee some more. This is a frame for a cameo that I made out of the Amazing Mold Putty. There's a couple of scratches on it in here, but that doesn't matter because that is what a cameo actually sits on top of. So initially what I bought from eBay was a frame like this, and then typically a cameo sits right on top of it like that. And so it can be just by itself on a page or on a card, or as a gift for someone. You can adhere a pin on the back. So that's kind of the idea of why I made those molds. So in here I have some leftover black Utee from my other video, and whew, this lid is hot. Okay, so we're going to move this lid somewhere where it won't melt everything else. Okay. And then, again, these are silicone molds, so I mean, these can go even in the oven. You know, this is what a lot of people use polymer clay with, so being hot is not an issue for these. Okay, so here we go. We'll let this sit and cool and see what happens. But the next thing I want to do is I actually want to take out a lot of this black now, because I want to do a different color. So to clean it out, I typically just use some paper towels and wipe the inside of it out while it's hot. I do turn it off, but it's still really, really hot. So if you decide to do this, just try not to touch the edge at all with your hand. Since I'm changing colors, that's why I'm trying to be as careful as I can to remove as much of the Utee as possible. So I did turn my pot back on, and using a smaller piece of paper towel, I'm just in here scrubbing all my nooks and crannies. It will come out. You just got to take it, be patient and work with it, and do it piece by piece. Especially if you don't want this color to be mixed into any of your clear Utee. It's very important to get it out all the way. Now I'm going to be using a colored Utee next, so not quite as critical, but I am going to be using gold next, so I really don't want any black mixed into my gold. Don't forget, it looks deceiving. It is very hot. So do not get your hand on that hot, hot metal. Okay, she's almost as clean as a whistle. Look at that. Alright, so I'm going to move on to my next color now. I have all of these pre-made molds. These were from some buttons. These are roses. So I'm going to make some gold roses. I have these buttons that I made out of earrings. Let me see. The earring is pretty ugly. I got it at a garage sale. But I thought this design would look really good in the middle of a flower. So I have those. This just happens to be a flat back pearl. I made a mold from a flat back pearl. This is a pearl with a rope design in it. That's really popular for flower centers. This was the original button that earring that it came off of. Again, this was just a junk earring I found at a garage sale. And this is another piece of some junk jewelry from someone. And then I have a couple more here. And then I thought I would do a couple of cameos. Now on eBay, sometimes you can get some really, really cheap cameos because many people don't like the color combination. So I bought this one. I guess not that many people use purple and white cameos. So I got this one for really cheap off of eBay. And so I'm going to try to make it in gold and then put rub and buff to make the butterfly part stand out. We'll see how it turns out. But this one has been sitting here for a little while. So let's see what it looks like if we pop it out. Look at that. Wow, it has all the design on the edge. Isn't that great? Now while it's warm, I've seen people use scissors and cut this, so I'm just going to use my junk scissors. Some people use those Tim Holtz tonic scissors, but it's super easy to cut while it's still hot. Any excess areas off. Or you can use a file. See, those areas that weren't part of the mold to begin with are going to be real easy to fall off for you. Because yeah, see, this part just fell right off for me. Okay, so there's my frame that I had made for my cameo. I'm going to put some probably silver rub and buff on the edges here. And then the cameo sits right in the middle of that. So you don't have to buy any frames anymore either. You can do your frames and your cameos with silicone molds. Okay, so we'll put that rub and buff on there while we're melting our gold Utee for our next projects. Again, you can save these, so I'm going to throw them back, just right back into my container of black until I've done a lot with black. I'm already halfway through, well, not halfway yet. But I did several cameos. Cameos will use a lot more Utee than any other projects because they're so deep and dimensional. The frame really didn't use that much. The frame used like one capful of the Utee. So now I have a lot of molds that I'm going to do with gold. So I'm going to put 3 capfuls of gold into my pot. And I always try to dump it into the deepest part of my pot, just so everything kind of melts at the same time. It's easier to mix it all down there. Okay, so I put 3 of those in there, and I'll put my lid back on. Okay, so while that's doing that, let's go ahead and try to make it match this one here. So I have pewter rub and buff. So we'll use the pewter and rub that on the edges and see how it turns out. Woo! More than I wanted to squeeze out there. Comes out pretty fast. So just lightly on the edges, I'll take the pewter and just barely touch the top of those dots. Okay, so there it is. So there's the one I made. And here's the one from eBay right next to it. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. So these are really nice gifts you can make for friends. You can just find some pins and glue it to the back. And then they have a handmade brooch that you made for them. So again, you can put a cameo in the middle just like that. So that frame came out really nice. Now you don't want to stir your Utee too much because you'll start getting bubbles in it. So just try to gently glide through it to mix it really well. Okay. So let's try to pour some molds with the gold Utee. I think it's pretty well melted. It's in the deeper part of the pot. So we'll see how many of these buttons we can fill. Again, I used 3 capfuls of the gold ultra thick embossing enamel. And let's see how many of these little guys we can fill up. Okay, so now let's see how these turned out. Let's go ahead and start popping them out of the molds. So this one is the flat back pearl. And this is another one of those. You can take your scissors because I overflowed on the edges. So there's one of the pearls. This is one of the roses. Oh, the rose came out beautiful. Look at the rose. That one came out really good. Okay, so I just want to show the detail of how all of these turned out. This original one is the purple and white cameo, and this is what it's like in gold and with white rubbin buff on it. It's harder to show the detail on these smaller ones. Then this was the purple and white butterfly cameo. And then this is it done in the antique gold with the white rubbin buff on top of it. I really like how antiqued this one looks. So there it is. I think one of these is upside down. There we go. There they are side by side. So you can see the dimension really comes out even when you use the Utee. I didn't fill this mold as much because the back didn't matter to me as much, so I didn't want to waste a whole bunch of Utee since this will go down on a card or a scrapbook page. Probably a card. This one's really pretty. Okay, so those are the cameos. Now here's the buttons. So I really want you to be able to see the detail on these guys. So here's one here. These will all look really good on fabric flowers or paper flowers. This one has that pearl with the rope around it. This one has the scalloped edge with the pearl. This is one of the flat back pearls. I don't think I did such a great job on that one. But these I love. Look how good these roses came out. They came out perfect, every little detail. So I did 2 of those. Those are great for scrapbook pages. They're not too bulky. They're just the right depth on these guys. And then there's another button center. So that was with 3 capfuls of Utee, and honestly I still have some in there. So I think I'm going to pour some of the leftover Utee that I have in my melting pot and make some more of these roses. I really like how those turned out, as well as another one of these center buttons with the rope. So I hope this gives you some idea. So, Blitsy will have the Melt Art Ultra Thick Embossing Enamel on their site unless they sell out till Monday. This coming Monday, I guess that's February 20th. And so go ahead and stock up. It's a really good deal. Thanks for watching.